Westmeath and Wexford in Mullingar.
It was 20 years ago today that the two sides last met in the Leinster Championship. On that occasion, Wexford came away with a 31-point victory in Carlow. The sides were level at 2 points apiece after Derek McNicholas pointed from a very difficult angle. The Wexford goalkeeper Mark Fanning pulled out all the stops to deny Alan Devine at the expense of a 65. Ian Byrne gave an outstanding performance this afternoon, but Westmeath goalkeeper Shane McGovern somehow got his stick to this. Liam Og McGovern took on the opposition and added to the Wexford account. David Redmond needed very little space as he split the posts. And at the interval, it was Wexford 15 points, Westmeath 6 points. 2 minutes into the second half and Ian Byrne tested the strength of the Westmeath net. Dahi Waters, making his senior hurling debut, wrote his name into the scorebook. A long-time campaigner with Westmeath, Brendan Murtha was on target. Brendan Murtha's goal began a mini Westmeath revival, but there was a mountain to climb for the Lake County. It ended Wexford 124, Westmeath 116.
Never known a week like this. I mean, with a couple of fellas out with suspension before the game and injuries, and then in the warm-up, Shane Pure got injured and Derek got injured during the game. So there was a lot of things thrown against us and we had a lot of setbacks. But I thought, in fairness to the guys, they worked really hard and produced a great last 20 minutes and, scored 1-7 or 1-8. I suppose maybe some people will say Wexford had the game won at that stage, but, our job was to play to the very end and get a performance, and delighted the way we finished. But, we still have a lot of work to do.
Came up here to do a job and get a job done, and we did that. To be fair to Westmeath, a few suspensions, a guy getting injured before the game, was a huge setback to him. But look, we always had Kilkenny in the back of our minds, and we need to come up here to get a win to give us that opportunity now to take on Kilkenny.
The talk around the Midlands all week centred around whether Seamus Cheddar-Plunkett's return as Laois manager would galvanise his players for their clash against Offaly. But Brian Wheelahan's men had a decent league campaign in Division 1B and hadn't lost to Laois in the Championship since 1972. Laois, playing with the aid of a decent breeze, got the game's opening score in the 3rd minute through Willie Hyland after some neat build-up play involving Tommy Fitzgerald. Offaly's first score from play came in the 10th minute through Joe Bergen. That put them 3 points to 2 in front, and this was the start of a period where the faithful men started to gain the upper hand. Corner forward Brian Carroll then fired over 2 quick scores in a minute for Offaly, the second of which came on the quarter-hour mark, giving them a 6 points to 3 lead. Shane Dooley was on song from place balls, landing 5 points in the opening period, and this score from team captain Dan Currams 12 minutes before the break had Offaly 10 points to 6 in front, as the home side's challenge seemed to falter. But an amazing turnaround saw the O'Moore men score 8 unanswered points before the interval. Charles Dwyer left the minimum between them with this fine effort 6 minutes before half-time. And the impressive Willie Hyland then notched his 4th point of the match on the stroke of half-time, Laois's 8th in 10 minutes, giving them a 14 points to 10 lead. Offaly needed to hit the ground running at the start of the second half, but it was the home side again who were the more impressive. Stephen Maher's point in the 42nd minute stretched their lead to 6. Brian Wheelahan made a few switches at half-time, and one of his substitutes, Killian Kiley, scored a beauty to reduce the deficit to 5, but you felt that it was Laois who had the bit between their teeth. Dwayne Palmer scored Laois's 23rd point of the match in the 51st minute, giving them a 7-point cushion as Offaly looked shell-shocked, unable to match the home side's tenacity and skill. Zane Keenan was deadly accurate all day. This sideline cut the pick of his 11 points, which included 3 from play. And on a day when Willie Hyland and Charles Dwyer scored 12 points from play between them for Laois, Dwyer's wonderful score 3 minutes from time nearly lifted the roof off the main stand in O'Moore Park, as the home fans knew they were witnessing a famous championship victory over their neighbours for the first time in 43 years. A crazy week in the history of Laois hurling ends with a stunning victory over Offaly. They now face Galway in the Leinster semi-final, while Offaly head into the qualifiers. It finished Laois 29 points, Offaly 21 points.
It'll just give us confidence, that's all it will. The most important thing that Laois could do now is to get back down on the ground here, go back training on Tuesday night, work really, really hard at the things that we didn't do well, and there's some of those that we need to do well. Work really, really hard at the things that's going to try and put it up to Galway here, and they're the things that are going to make a difference. You know, all of the other stuff really, it's nice to hear, it's lovely to have the support behind the team, and I'm very, very thankful to all the Laois supporters. It was just massive to be on the sideline today and to hear that support. Fantastic feeling as a Laois man. But at the end of the day, it's what the team will do in the next 2 weeks that will determine how we're going to play against Galway.
When you give a performance, I suppose the way Offaly gave a performance today, you just question everything that you're doing, and today was a tough day, but I'm not going to take away from Laois. Laois were excellent on the day, fought really hard, got some excellent scores, and we didn't respond and we didn't fight with the same, I suppose, intensity that we had shown in a lot of our league games and even games coming into today.
Well, that's very fair of Brian Whelan, but what a fantastic achievement for Laois. 1972, I went back over the records. They won the quarter-final in June 4, 1972, beating Offaly by a point. Laois then played Kilkenny in the Leinster semi-final, and random close. It was Kilkenny 5-14, Laois 5-7, and Kilkenny were to go on and win the All-Ireland. So it's a fantastic day, isn't it, lads? Anthony, you've been around Leinster hurling. Great achievement.
Yeah, and like before Cheddar took over, they were in disarray. You know, I remember walking out of Tullamore. I think Dublin had beaten them 30-odd points, and meeting Willie Hyland on the way out, and Willie just saying he was fit to give it up, you know, and he's come in and transformed the thing, and you see Willie hitting 7 points today. It's
you have
fantastic.
Great time for him as a hurler.
Yeah, time playing colleges level for LIT, super player.
Yeah, you played on the bad days against Laois. Well, the bad Laois days, don't Logue.
Yeah, it does. I think it was maybe 5-6 years ago. Cork scored 10 goals, I think, against Laois in Laois, and that was obviously a black day, but
that big fella's turned it around, Cheddar.
Yeah, if anything, look, that just shows you what Cheddar has done since he's come in there. Like, all the reports is that he's put a serious operation in place. Ger Cunningham from Limerick is a very good man as well, and it's great to see the likes of Willie Hyland, Zane Keenan. Saw Zane Keenan playing a couple of years ago, and he straight away stood out to me as this guy could be a serious forward, and it's great to see those guys fulfilling their potential.
I think his dad played in the match in 72, Zane Keenan. Yeah. But like, plus their underage structures are a good bit ahead of maybe Offaly's underage structures at the moment, and Offaly need to start looking at that. I know they're on about a new centre of excellence, which will be great for them, but like, their minors are very good. Pat Critchley doing great work there, and like, their structures are geared towards getting them up the ladder, and they are getting up the ladder, and they've given Galway plenty of it in the last 2 years in the Leinster, so they'll be looking forward to that now. I know Galway probably look good, but they'll be looking forward to that.
But in contrast for Offaly, and Brian Whelan was generous to Laois, but it is a bad day for them. They're in the round-robin series now.
Yeah, it is a bad day. Looking on about hurling men, they don't come any better than Brian Whelan, so you can imagine how much he's hurting tonight. I think, you know, reports are not great in terms of underage in Offaly, and, you know, Anthony was talking about the way Laois are being structured. That doesn't happen by accident. Offaly probably need to start again. You know, I know they're talking about building a new centre of excellence, and they probably need to start looking at the underage. They also have a huge challenge, Des, in that, and sorry, Anthony, they don't have a big pick. Like, Immakilly, which is a division down in Cork, probably have a bigger pick than the entire Offaly.
Absolutely, yeah. They need to absolutely maximise everything they have, and just interest seems to have... Interest is probably the wrong word, you know, but enthusiasm seems to have waned that little bit, and you need that fire. Well, in contrast, Westmeath have that coming along as well. They're moving up grade, and they performed well against, but Wexford were the stronger teams throughout that one, yeah? Yeah, like, you know, Westmeath beat them in the minor lately, so that was a big boost for them, and they're doing, you know, Michael Ryan did a fair old job in the league, and you know, I'd say popular with the players and seemed to get a good effort, but Wexford were nearly always going to win that today, and they've one-eyed. There was a bit of intent in the done eyes there in the interview. I think he's looking forward to going to Nolan Park, and the fact that they're going to Nolan Park might take a bit of pressure off them. You know, people will expect they won't beat them in there. So yeah, and they've been building them the last couple of years. Like, you know, you're talking about, you know, Waterford. It was Wexford knocked Waterford out of the championship last year. I know the season finished maybe on a sour note, but that had been on the back of a number of games, and you know, I just get this feeling that this Wexford team, I know they're structured well. The man Anthony just mentioned there, Liam Dunn, you know what's going to be in their mind. They're going to be going in there with plenty of determination and firing their hearts into Nolan Park. There'll be a fantastic atmosphere there for that one.
It's one to look forward to. All right, well, I'll be interested to hear your views on the next game, because still to come we've that hurling replay between Galway and Dublin, as well as top football action from Ulster and Leinster. But right now in the Sunday game, it's competition time.
We've teamed up with Etihad Airways, the world's leading airline and proud sponsor of the GA Hurling All-Ireland Senior Championship, to give you the chance to win a weekend break in Dublin, taking in the Leinster Hurling Final on July 5th. You'll be treated